Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Lions Den podcast. Here to talk about everything Club Leon in English. We are here to talk about everything post Leagues Cup, which I know Carlos and Louis made trips out there. So we'll definitely have them share any experiences, any cool things, and anything that happened during that time. But yeah, if you guys are watching us via YouTube, hello and welcome. And as always, feel free to jump in the comments, express what your emotions are, anything that you want to talk about and you want to give us your thoughts. Go ahead and share it on the comments, and we'll definitely share it on the screen. So, gentlemen, Carlos, Louis, are we surprised? Are we not? I mean, today's title is, obviously Leagues Cup recap. We'll get to the question, was it a fracaso for us? But first of all, how are we doing post Leagues Cup?
Yeah, it was quite the whirlwind for me in particular, given all of the narrative behind it and everything that went along with it in this particular edition. The team not just playing in my hometown against my hometown team from Major League Soccer, but also spending an entire week in my city training, mostly in a facility approximately 5 minutes from the house I grew up in. So that was just, I mean, I talk about watershed moments in following this team for me, and this is up there with going to Saudi Arabia for the Club World Cup. I mean, I'd call those two moments 1A and 1B in the decade plus that I've been aware of this club, and independientemente of what went on the pitch. I mean, I don't know how much quality we could really expect there, given how the season started. I will say I did expect a little bit more in that department, which we can get into later. But just in terms of everything else, I've never felt closer to this club than I did this past week. Had the good fortune to sit in on 3 training sessions, 2 at the facility, 1 at the stadium, 1 press conference. Finagled my way into that one when I didn't really intend to. But I mean, I've been around this team a lot of my own volition, of my own doing, but I really felt a connection with the organization in a way that I hadn't before. And Carlos can attest to a part of this because he was around for some of that as well. But everything non-product on the pitch related was absolutely excellent. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Without getting all all nostalgic about it and getting all choked up about what that experience was. Everything other than the product on the pitch was amazing for me. But it's not enough. I mean, this is a football club. The aim of the game is to put forth the best effort, be in contention to win games and to win trophies, and we're just not anywhere near that right now. And that part of it is certainly disappointing. But at least in my mind, I'm able to compartmentalize, put that in one area, and put the experience I had with the team in this edition of Leagues Cup, which probably will never happen again, in another compartment. So, yeah, those two things, that's kind of my 30,000-foot view of it. And that happened. Gotta look at ways to move forward and improve and save this semester.
My experience, it's hard to go after you, Louis, because I don't nearly have as much to say about it as you do. It was fun. I mean, I think it was a fun trip for me, going out to Portland and venturing into nuevas tierras.
Your first time?
First time in Portland. First time in Seattle. I did go up to Seattle to catch a game. Pretty fun atmosphere. Nice people, great weather. I mean, everything outside of just the game itself was pretty cool. Great experience. Tried out a lot of foods, did a lot of walking. I did so much walking that when I got back home, I realized I lost like 5 pounds. I did.
That's always good.
Yeah. Also, got to hang out with Louis a couple times. Got to hang out with some of the guys from the club. Got to hang out with Paco Vela for the first time. Shook his hand, took a picture with him. Really, really cool guy. I mean, just great experience overall. I would do it again if I could. Pretty sure I'm going to do it again in another edition of the Leagues Cup. Not this year, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was a great experience. I got to, see Louis at the game. We did the video together, got to shake his parents' hands again. We had a beer, a slice of pizza. I mean, overall, it was just a great experience. And I'm sure we'll get into the details of the game. The game it started off great. I mean, who would have thought Medina would have given us that golazo, but I'm sure we'll get into it.
Definitely. I think I'm glad to hear on both sides. There's just so much newness, so much, like Louis for, especially in his case, nostalgia going back home and everything that entail, and yeah, I think I'm glad to hear you guys had really good experiences, regardless, I think, of the results. But yeah, just talking about it and moving forward to where
just
we're
one quick
heading.
thing. You mentioned Paco Vela. Carlos, we've talked about him a few times on this podcast, but without him, yes, it was my city, it was my stomping grounds, but without him, I would not have gained the access to all of the exclusive content that I had in Portland. So big shout out to him. He gets a lot of flack because that's the nature of his job. He needs to report everything he sees. He needs to report information that ends up not being true, and people call him out for it. But he's the James Brown of sports reporting in Mexico. He's the hardest working man in sports journalism in this country. Nobody does it like him. He was literally the only accredited journalist who traveled to both of these Leagues Cup matches to cover Club Leon, the only one. And so big shout out to him. My companion in so many trips of these, from Jeddah to Panama to Dominican Republic, wherever you like, to Portland, my hometown. Big shout out to Paco. I don't know if sometimes he does listen to this podcast. So saludos para mi Paco Vela. I wouldn't have been able to, it wouldn't have been the same trip without you. So big shout out to you.
Yeah, shouts to Paco
Vela. Maybe we'll have him on the pod sometime. Maybe we'll do a Spanish edition at some point.
Well, all these trips he's made to the U.S. recently since the Conca Champions final. That was his first time in the United States, and he's really practiced his English since then. So,
okay.
I mean, he might not be as comfortable with it as he would like to appear on a podcast, but maybe at some point.
Well, the good thing is that we're bilingual people.
Yeah,
we all speak English, while he's Spanish, so he's more than welcome to come and speak both, and we'll obviously we know both languages, so just like our listeners. Shout out to Edgar. Hello, saludos desde Carolina del Norte,
North Carolina. Wow,
what are you doing out there, Edgar? Galaxy aren't playing there. Galaxy are playing in Seattle.
Okay, let's talk about Leon versus Portland. Like Carlos had mentioned, yes, I think I even on our own chat, I was like, why is Medina starting? Like, what is up with that? And then obviously he, gifted us that first goal. But what was it for you guys watching it live and be like, did you guys know who it was who scored, or were like, who was it? It was like,
I did.
Medina.
I did because unlike in our stadium, the Providence Park in Portland has an enormous modern jumbotron where they instantly cut to the player who scored.
Nice.
So all you have to do is look over at that, and you knew right away. So if you didn't know by watching it in real time, you knew 10 seconds later because they had all the cameras on Medina, and I was like, really? I mean, obviously, I was on pins and needles that entire 90 minutes, just not sure what to think about anything that was happening. I was there with my folks who were both wearing double gear. I had my Leon jersey on, of course, but I had my Timbers cap and jacket. My folks had their Timbers shirt and Leon hats on because they obviously go for both teams as well. And I was just like, I couldn't jump for joy because obviously, I mean, this is the other team playing. I didn't jump for joy in either of the Timbers goals either. Like, what am I supposed to do with any of that? I just had no what to
both. Like,
yeah, I mean, I did. I definitely stood up and I was happy about the Medina goal, but I didn't go all out cheering like I normally would. I did not rub it in the faces of the fans around me as I would in any other stadium, as I certainly did in Colorado when we went to VAR review and that Guerra goal was good. I definitely rubbed it in their faces, got some beer spilled on me, but we can get into that later.
Oh God.
I celebrated it, man. I screamed it. I was right in the middle So there's like how many seats are there? There's like 8 seats in one row, and I'm like right in the middle, and everyone around me is a Portland fan.
I
And
was gonna
there's one,
say, were you
Yeah,
surrounded
and you
by
were
Portland fans?
yeah, and there was one
well, and
guy.
you were
There-
one section over from where I was.
Yeah. There
Yeah,
was
yeah.
one guy. There was one guy behind me, Leon fan, and his whole row is like empty, and he's the only one there. So like as soon as like the goal goes in, I'm just like, yeah, turn around. I don't even know the guy, and we like dap him off, and I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
It was a good experience.
And then also the traveling. I mean, they still allow visiting fan sections in MLS stadiums. So the Locos de Arriba, well, not really all of them officially, but yeah, I mean, a lot of them from various chapters around the country. I know there was a big contingent that flew in from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and a bunch of people came from other places, and a lot of them put up in the visitor section just behind us, up in the corner. So you could hear them; they were roaring as well.
It was pretty loud. I mean, like I don't know how you could if you could make it out on television, Cari, but like I remember telling Louis, I think it was before the game or like halftime. I was like, dude, there's a lot of us here. Like it's really loud. Yeah, it was more of us than I expected.
I think it was more Leon fans in that one that I could hear versus this past one.
There were plenty. There were plenty in Colorado too. They were all around me.
And it was hard to tell because it was raining. So obviously, so the thing is, like with the Leagues Cup cameras, like there's way more zoomed into the cancha than like in the stands. And then obviously it was raining, so there was like all people with ponchos and all that stuff. People like, in that stadium, it was kind of weird. They have like a restaurant outside or something with like some lights and stuff.
In Colorado?
Yeah, or what was that?
Yeah,
And I was just
there was supposed to be a pregame party or something, but there was an absolute downpour. Before, by game time, the rain had pretty much stopped, but there was a downpour before the game. So I think any outside activities that they had planned got canceled. I barely got my pregame video in with Marcelo Balboa. That wasn't the plan, but he came out, and I was just like, I asked him, can we do a 30-second video for the podcast? He's like, sure. I mean, he's like the nicest guy, as we know.
Yeah.
So like that worked out. But any other planned activities, I think in Colorado got scrapped. But no, there were a ton of Leon fans there too. And of course, they all came out in force early. They were all waiting there early. The Rapids fans, I mean, the stadium eventually filled up way more than it was at game start. But those Rapids fans are casual. They got there late. The Leon fans were obviously there early because this might be the only time they get to see their team play in the year,
Yeah.
So that's how it always is. So it was kind of like, but no, there were a ton of Leon fans in Colorado too. And I think they even came in from more places because that's a little bit more central. I mean, Portland's tucked away in the corner there. It's a little harder for people to get to. But Colorado, I mean, that's I think there were a bunch. I would say there were almost as many, if not about the same number as there were in Portland.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Because I remember walking up. I remember walking up to the stadium in Portland, and it's like right in downtown, So like I'm just like walking the streets, and there's the stadium. And I remember just walking up to the stadium, and on the gate that I went in through, it's all green, all Leon, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? Yeah, just Leon fans everywhere, and I'm like, wow, I didn't expect that many people. I mean, but there's a lot of people that made the flight though.
Yeah. I always ask myself, like, where are these people normally when I'm here? Like, are you here all the time?
Or are they hiding?
Because if so, like, why don't we have get-togethers and stuff?
I mean, I think for a future reference, like, if you guys, next year make out the trip, like they could be something maybe, if you guys meet at a bar or something, get more of the Leon fans or something, kind of like that would be cool.
I'm not good at organizing that kind of stuff. Otherwise, I probably would have put out a feeler on social media or something like, hey, Leon fans in Portland, let's meet at said place, said time or something. But I'm not the best at organizing that, but maybe I'll make more of an effort if this happens again, whether it be in Portland or somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe we need to look at that depending on where we get.
You know who's good at that? You know who's good at organizing that? Javier.
Yeah.
Javier.
If only he'd made the trip. I could have suggested him some places that we could have met in the city, and like he could have put out the feelers.
Yeah. Well, I got to listen to both games. Obviously, you have the option of listening in English and Spanish, so I've obviously listened in Spanish for both, and both of them were narrated by Marcelo Balboa. So I got to hear the Spanish.
Yeah, he was in Portland too, but I didn't realize that until after because I wasn't planning on watching on Apple for that one, so like I didn't think about it.
Yeah, he was there. So
yeah.
No, well, Carlos, you were walking around, and obviously you made it to the hotel where Los de Arriba were, right? How was that? How was that? How did that
Yeah, so
happen when
like
the players came out?
like I didn't even know. Louis hit me up. Like I thought my day was over. I was like, all right, there's nothing else to do. It's getting late. I should probably like, pick up a sandwich, maybe pick up a little drink, go to the hotel, and just kind of hang out because it's gonna be game day pretty soon. And then I get a WhatsApp message from Louis, and he's like, hey man, they're gonna have a little serenata for the club outside of their hotel. He's like, you should go, and I was like, oh
Yeah, I was.
damn, I don't know if I want to go.
I heard
Anyway.
about it late. And I was already at home in the burbs, and so I was like, I'm not going to be able to make it in time, but you might be able to, Carlos.
Yeah. So, anyways, I walked over, and there were like legit like 6 people outside, and they had the big banner or whatever. So I was like, I don't even know. Like, should I even get close? Like, are we gonna do this? Like, what's gonna happen? So I kind of hung out on the corner for a little bit, and then once I saw more people coming, we got like 12, maybe 15 people. That's when I was like, all right, it's going. And then I heard the screaming,
Yeah.
Se rumora por ahí. And that's when I pulled out my phone and I started recording. Yeah. But yeah, it only took like 10 minutes of the chanting for the players to come out. Some of the first people to come out was Pelonchis, obviously the photographer. Some of the CMs, like the guys who run the Club Leon page.
Mhm.
And then right behind them was Fidel Ambris and like some other youth players. Sebastian.
And Adonis.
Adonis was
eventually
there.
came out.
Adonis stayed until the end. He signed everyone's stuff. Like everyone else left, and Adonis was still there. And I was like, "What? This guy's hanging out."
I feel like he's super in touch with being a member of this club, like way more than a lot of the others are.
Yes.
Like he seems to understand what it means.
Yes.
Like I think he should be one of our captains. Maybe he is. I don't remember, but I know he definitely feels like he definitely feels the vibe of being a part of this club.
And that's what you like to see, because like that when Carlos sent me, I was like, Adonis is out there, and he's just he me transmitía, like he's just like really likes to show the respect, the love for people coming out, making the effort, and like even coming out. Like I guess with a lot of players, sometimes it gets into their heads and they come out and they have like this kind of aura of like prepotente, but like when players like that come out and like it just says something, because people que están dedicados al club, aman al club. I mean, anything you give them, like they'll take it. So for a player like him to come out, I mean, it just means a lot.
Yeah, not just there, but even toward Paco and myself in the training, that make sure to say hello, good morning. They recognize the effort that you're making to be there. They'll shake your hand. There are a few players I could call out for being particularly attentive in that sense. Ivan Moreno is another. He gave Paco an interview and he didn't have to. And I mean, some of these guys, they're just a little bit more. They're more accessible, and they don't have to be. They're not required to be. Fidel is like that too. Obviously, he made himself available for press conferences. Even gave an answer in English, which we posted on the social media.
I didn't know he spoke English, to be honest, until
Carlos,
you said that over.
I did.
I did.
Somebody mentioned it. Some like one of these other podcasts mentioned it. Somebody was like, "Oh, Fidel, habla inglés," because I guess during his time in the Olympics or like with like la selección, like sub-23, sub-20, like all of those, he had to like really travel overseas, and I don't know. I guess he got it down somehow.
Yeah.
So. I mean, it's not a knock on the guys who don't make themselves available. Some guys are just shy. Some guys aren't really built for that. But I mean, it does speak to the character of a player who's willing to make themselves available in that way, especially to the fans and to people they don't have to make themselves available to, that they're not required to.
But even Adonis, when he landed at the airport after Leagues Cup, like he was the only one that was open to interview, and he dio la cara. And I mean, all her responses were just on point to me. I mean, it's like, we all know that Leon's having a tough, a tough couple of games, tough couple of, X and Y, but like dio la cara, and to me that means a lot too. That he's like, him as he's proclaiming himself one of the leaders coming out and talking. I mean, it definitely says a lot about him.
Yeah.
Arturo Ruiz, saludos. I really didn't mind getting eliminated. I'm numb to the pain. I kind of feel that way too. Like, I'm not surprised. But it was frustrating, especially this last game against Colorado, I think.
I just,
Estamos
I mean,
salados. Like
we
I
were
had,
just we were just so close. You know, it's like so close, and then I don't know what it is. Fate was just like, nah, not today, guys.
not today.
Not today, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was pretty clear even if we'd won this game, we weren't going to make a deep run most likely in the tournament. I mean, we're just not at that point in our form to be able to predict that. So in that sense, it was a relief. I mean, I was waiting until the day of the game, or the night of the game, after I knew what was going to happen, to book my next trip, whether it was going to be to come back here, to come back home, or to go either to St. Louis or to Dallas, or wherever it might have been after that. I mean, I was holding out, and waiting. And it was a bit of a relief, honestly, to, instead of booking another stop, to just book my trip home and come back and home and descansar. I mean, honestly, I'm not going to say that was an unwelcome scenario. Sure, you want to see the team go as far as possible, and if they're going to be playing another game somewhere else, I mean, I wanted to be there for it. But yeah, I mean, there is a little bit of a sense of relief knowing that the team is not going to make a run to the finals of this cup or whatever, or anything like that. And it was nice it was not an unwelcome circumstance to be able to book my trip home.
No, this is the thing. This is what made me mad. Sorry, Carlos. This is what made me mad, because obviously Santos did not score in the first game or the second game. They went to penalties. They went on. So I told Tom, if Leon loses, like in that aspect, like I will be pissed, because we have played, we have scored goals, and you guys just like sneakily went by. And look at us. Like that's why I think in that sense I got frustrated, because I was like, como dice Carlos, like no nos tocó. Like I was like, estamos salados. Like what is going on? Like I don't get it.
I mean, you know, no offense to Tom's hard work, because I know this wasn't his fault, but Santos looked terrible.
It's not his fault.
Santos looked terrible in that group stage. They got destroyed by DC United, and they got very lucky on a penalty shootout against Atlanta. Also after not playing well, Leon did not play poorly for at least for large stretches of their group stage. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
They played, you know, a Timbers team that's firing on all cylinders. Even when their vaunted attack is not scoring, they'll get something on a set piece. That's just the mojo that they've got going on right now. And they outplayed Colorado for most of that game. I'm sorry, especially in the second half. They outplayed Colorado for most of that game, but they didn't play till the whistle. That's been one of the big bugaboos with this club. They don't play to the whistle. They were trying to see out the match in Portland as well, and it bit them. And it bit them in Colorado too. Like, you have to play to the whistle. I mean, keep playing hard to the whistle. You have to. You're not going to be able to see these games out that way. Not in a cup like this. You have to play to the final whistle. They just didn't do it, but they did not play poorly. They played well, and so. You know, it's just one of those
Blanco,
things.
I was surprised with the saves he had that second game.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Carlos. Go ahead.
Too many blunders by Poncho Blanco lately. I mean, not even lately, since the beginning of the season. You know, like first 3 games, we should have been on high alert. Like, hey man, this guy looks a little rusty. Like maybe we should start thinking about bringing in Jimenez. Anyway, going back to what we were talking about. We would have played Juarez, right, in the next round?
No. Wait. Yes, we would have.
We would have played Juarez. That would have been like a pretty straightforward game, I think. I mean, it's a winnable match, right?
And who knows where they would have played that game?
Maybe, Carlos.
Maybe. But you know something. Sometimes when you're losing, when you're on a bad, 6-game non-winning streak, all you need is to win. That's all you really need. You just need one win to turn things around, and you go on a run, and who knows, maybe we beat Juarez, and then we're in the semifinal after that, and like who knows, maybe we could have made a nice deep run. You just need that win. You need that win. And I asked Paco Vela that when I first met him. We were all sitting at the table having pizza, and I asked him, and I said, hey, what does Leon need? ¿Qué necesita Leon? And I think he said it jokingly. He said, necesita ganar. And I was like, that's right. Like I thought he was going to tell me like, oh, but necesitan un refuerzo aquí, or they need like a mediocampista, or they need a striker. No, he said they need to win. Like, and that's big. Winning does a lot for your mentality. So if we would have gotten one win, if we would have won against Portland, we would have been a completely different team against Colorado.
Yeah,
I agree.
Angel on the chat said Blanco has to have some dirt on Jesus Martinez or Baba to still be getting first choice after his performances.
No, look, being
I
being
think
in a
he
few of
had
the
a couple
trainings,
of
I
good
think.
saves. But go ahead.
No, but I mean, just being in a few of the trainings, I think. First of all, there's a lot of these rumors about Oscar Jimenez being upset or discontent about, he thought his whole reason for leaving America was that he thought he was going to get an opportunity to start, have more opportunities to play, and he did not in any way, shape, or form think he would come in here to be Poncho Blanco's backup, and he's upset about it. Look, in 3 trainings, I saw none of that. I saw him, working very, very hard and being a very, very good soldier. Like, I don't know where. I understand. Yeah, I don't. People have to come up with these narratives to generate content. I understand that. But where are Paco Vela was the only one there to actually report on any of this, and that's just not what we saw. I'm sorry, I don't. That is not what I'm seeing. And I think the directiva and the coaching staff, they feel like Poncho Blanco has enough of a track record that he hasn't played enough matches to lose his spot yet. It may happen eventually, but I just don't think that's where we're at yet. I just don't.
I guess I just thought, and Carlos, you can agree. I thought, okay, the season started off by Liga MX. Let's kind of maybe switch the chip and the goal and give Oscar Jimenez the Leagues Cup to see how he is, and then kind of decide from there. That's kind of like lo que yo pensé, right?
I mean, I would have thought the same thing. Like, this is a completely different tournament. Poncho Blanco hasn't been spectacular in Liga MX. He's had his 1 or 2 slip-ups, cost us a few goals. Like, let's see what else is there. Let's see what the competition has to offer. And then if Jimenez comes in and he's completely terrible and we lose by 5 goals, comete unos osotes, then that'll convince us, like, okay, we know why Poncho Blanco is starting. But we haven't even gotten a taste of Jimenez yet. So it's like everyone is just like waiting for that change, waiting for it, to see what he has to offer.
I mean, if you were going to do it, the Colorado game for me was the time, because especially after in the Portland game, how implicit on both of those goals Poncho was, especially the second one, but even the first one,
Yeah, just in that second game, sí se recuperó poquito in the sense of like he did save some. That was like, oh,
he did.
Yeah, that was a good save, and I kind of like. It's kind of like that mental juggling of like, oh, where do we go from this?
I do want to say this: in none of the trainings that we saw did they practice penalties, knowing full well that those could be the difference between.
Let me ask you something. Do you think maybe they practice those behind closed doors for the same reason? Possibly.
Well, there was only.
Because penalties, especially because this whole tournament, it's like if you draw, you go to penalties. Like they would have had to have some like low key session for that it's not open to the media because it's more secretive.
There was only one closed door training, but my understanding is, from what I heard, they did not practice penalties at that either. So maybe they did. I mean, I'm not going to say definitively because I wasn't there, but there was only one closed door training.
It would be hard to believe just on my aspect because it's like the whole tournament revolves around if you draw, you go to penalties. Like this is the whole thing, right?
It certainly looked like a couple of those takers. I'm not going to mention any names, but it certainly looked like a couple of those takers had no idea what they were doing. And unfortunately, in Leagues Cup, just look at Santos. I mean, the penalties can be the difference between moving on or not. So that I don't know.
I mean, I don't think our penalty takers missed that bad. Right? I mean, Guardado missed, also, but like it wasn't a terribly executed penalty.
Also, Zach Steffen, former U.S. men's national team goalkeeper, I'm going to go out on a limb and say is better, at least in better form than Poncho Blanco. So there's that too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when it comes to penalties, it's un volado, right? Because maybe Poncho Blanco could have had that night where he was amazing at penales, and that's it. He can have another night where it's un volado at the end of the day.
It is, although there are some keepers out there who specialize in saving penalties. William Yarbrough is one of those, for example.
Really?
I wish he were still on the roster just specifically to put him in for the penalty shootout. Even though I know you never bring in a cold goalkeeper just for a penalty shootout, although in some rare instances it has worked.
Yeah.
So obviously with this Leon team, we've had so many late incorporations, right? So obviously I think part of me, yes, is frustrated that we haven't won. And I guess I'm specifically talking Liga MX because obviously we're renewing Liga MX. And, we're slowly integrando a los demás jugadores. Obviously, we know Cabral, because of his personal reasons, cannot travel. Obviously, Mendoza did end up incorporating himself, which I really like him already. So it's like, and then now, they presented the new refuerzo that obviously was confirmed when the team was out in Leagues Cup, Martinez. So it's like, okay, so now that we're officially kind of done, everybody's, now when can we expect to have like a nice, like, okay, this is a good starting 11 now, ya con todos más o menos like acoplados in the very short term? Because to me, it's like, honestly, we won't actually see like a good starting 11 until probably next jornada, porque some players need a bit more, some players need less, like. But I guess just asking you guys in this specific, like, next upcoming jornadas, like, maybe when can we start judging, like, okay, we kind of have a good 11 with ya todos los nuevos, ya.
Unfortunately, it's like hard to say with that, because we're one of those clubs, we're always going to be, it's going to take halfway into our season before we really know what team we have, because our directiva waits to sign players until their representation doesn't get the offers they want from clubs that typically pay more. That's how we get Jonder Cadiz. You don't think his representation, especially the Copa America that he had, and the profile that he has, you don't think his representation was looking for a higher price from a different club, or like maybe another DP slot from an MLS club, or a bigger contract from an America or one of those Monterrey clubs. I'm sure that's what they were looking for. They didn't get it, so they settled for whatever León was offering. I mean, I'm sure I'm sure the same thing happened from Mendoza, and maybe even from Hernandez. It doesn't always happen that way, but it seems like that's how it often happens whenever we get a higher profile signing in our club. That's how it happens. They always come late because of that, and so it's just so hard to even know what we have and to really build a roster and know what your starting 11 is going to be until the season's almost halfway over. But I give them, if by 3 or 4 more matches into the season, I'd say, the midway point, if we don't start seeing more concrete results and like a concrete style of play, then I think, it's probably looking like it's going to be a lost season, unfortunately. That would be my number. If I had to put a number on it, I'd say another 3 or 4 matches. Because Mendoza hasn't even been to León yet. I mean, maybe he passed through there, but like he joined the team in Portland. He's never even. He's seen La Esmeralda now because they got here yesterday and they trained at least once. But before that, he hadn't. Like, so. And Hernandez was there training by himself without the rest of the team for however long. So it's just like it's not ideal circumstances. Yeah. It never is when it comes to incorporating new refuerzos with a club like ours.
Yeah, I also think it's going to take like 3 or 4 matches to get that ideal 11. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Baba has not repeated a lineup this season, Liga MX and League Cup. So he doesn't even know who he's. Yeah, so he doesn't even know who he wants to start. Like he's still trying to figure out el esquema, and he's had, which
I don't blame him with what Louis said. These all late, incorporations.
I kind of feel for the guy now. Like everyone's booing him, everyone wants him out. But like being at the game, and I sent you guys a video of him like moving up and down, giving instructions. I'm like, dude, like he really wants to win. He really does want to win. He really knows the game and he wants to win. Pero no
he picks his moments to get intense about it. I mean, in the trainings all week, he mostly lets his auxiliares do the heavy lifting. And then the last training before the match, he really gets in there and he gets in people's faces. People think he doesn't care, that he's an indiferente. He's just here because he can make more money than he can in Uruguay, which is where he really wants to be. I mean, maybe he really does want to be in Uruguay, but it's not that he's not doing the job to the best of his ability here. I just think it's so lazy and cheap to just say, fuera, insert coach's name here. Fuera, insert coach's name here. That's lazy. I don't want to tell anybody how to fan, but that's just lazy. Especially, and it's not, I don't see anything to give me the impression that the players are not bought in. The coaches that have come in and they already have the squad pretty much in place, like Ariel Jolan, did really well right away because he pretty much had the squad that, a title-winning squad already in place. Jorge Baba did not have a title-winning squad, although we're already in place. If Jorge Baba had come in and had the squad that Ariel Jolan had, maybe he takes them to the final in his first season too. Like there's other factors in here that we need to take into consideration, and it's just so lazy to just say fuera baba, fuera baba. Maybe he's not the right guy, but he's not been given the best circumstances to work with either.
No, and I feel like it's like every game, right? It's like it's always the same thing, and I'm like, why can't we just have a different mentality? Like, just try to understand the context of what we all just said, the refuerzos, these new players, how to incorporate. Like, no one's gonna come in with the magic wand and be like, okay, this is what's gonna be when we're gonna win off the bat. Like, of course not. But I feel like if we don't start winning, if we don't start seeing something really concrete after, because obviously we see Cadiz, like, I see him as a great star. Mendoza también. Obviously, we still have to see cómo más incorpora Cabral, because obviously we saw good moments between Cadiz and Cabral. Okay, I want to see more of that. And obviously there's, Diego Hernandez, which I bet I said Martinez, it's Diego Hernandez. So it's like, okay, we need to start seeing some, something soon so I can be like, you know what? Okay, cool. Like we do have the players. It's just a matter of, a couple of games, que se acople un poquito más, and then but I just hate that every game it's like people are like fuera, fuera, fuera. It's like, guys, you're not helping the situation. And I feel like some of those people, I'm not saying everybody, if you feel like that, express yourself and give me legit reasons. But like, I feel some people, like, they hear it from someone else and it's like, and they just say it, right? Y se junta, y se junta, y se junta. And it's like, you guys are just saying
they're
it
like
just
lemmings.
to say it.
Yeah.
They're like lemmings, If the next guy walks off a cliff, they will too. It's just, it's lazy. It's a lazy way. It's a lazy way to fan. But the caveat, of course, here is, I think he's got a pretty good squad now. I think he has a I think there's some pretty decent quality on this squad. You take into consideration Mendoza, Diego Hernandez, we haven't seen yet. Mendoza, Jonder, Cabral. These guys have a real chance to make a difference here. So with a full squad for another month, if within another month he hasn't figured something out with a good quality squad, then there's more of an argument to be made. But right now, I mean, he's never, at no point has he had anything concrete to work with. He was very fortunate last season to have Viñas available, and Viñas saved him. Le resolvió like 3 or 4 matches that they wouldn't have gotten anything out of otherwise.
That's the good thing. The good thing is that, like, we have all of the ingredients now, and now it's like, Baba, go. It's now you don't have any excuses not to make this
cook
team
something
play well.
up between
cook something up, and obviously I think the person that's giving us the most hope right now is Mendoza, because he literally played the first 20 minutes and almost scored a golazo. So, like, that's the biggest hope. Ivan Moreno coming back, almost scoring a goal. Cabral.
Can we talk about that finishing though? They had how many, 4 or 5 of those in that game against Colorado? Clear chances. I mean, that's why I say they were by far the better team in terms of generating clear chances in that game. They had that Mendoza one though was particularly painful. I mean, there was nobody. I mean, it was just him and a gaping open goal in front of him, and he kicked it to the one spot where they could get to it.
Guerra too. Guerra, you cannot miss that one. Edgar Guerra.
Yeah. I think I'm still in between, going back and forth with Guerra, because I feel like I've said it multiple times, he needs to work on his decision making, because sometimes he doesn't make the best decisions. So I hope maybe with these other players, it kind of pressures him, like, okay, I need to be on point, because he was playing as a right back, no? This past game.
Yeah.
Well,
and he's not a right back.
Kind of been. I mean, they've been kind of playing with a one solid back line of 3 and then a couple of wing backs.
Yeah,
it's not
because
like
he would like kind of shift back, and then Mendoza would be in front of him.
He's not a true right back. He's kind of like an in between wing back with full freedom to get forward. Yeah, and you're kind of playing with a line of 3. Yeah, I mean, it's risky, but I mean, given the personnel you have available, it's probably the best way to play.
So what we have is, so I heard Platano's injured, right?
Oh, I didn't hear that.
I saw a tweet a couple days ago, I think.
I didn't hear that. Adonis is out.
Adonis came out early in the Colorado match. Yeah,
he did.
He'd already been fighting through something in the preceding week of training. That much I knew.
Yeah.
And then Edson, he
He's out
what's
for a
his name?
while.
Yeah, but isn't it like? Didn't they say like 3-4 weeks, or is it a bit longer than that? Because he fractured a toe or something.
Something
I
like
can't
that.
remember.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how long. Let's see.
And then Sebastián Santos is back. So it's like we're losing some people, getting some people back. Some people are, so it's like, también, I guess we'll have to see what that looks like, especially as has been club announced, or anything. But obviously, David Medrano had mentioned that some of the games, Liga MX games, will be happening as six teams? 6 teams have what's it called?
We're eliminated.
Eliminated. So I guess looking at our Chivas Leon game will be next week.
Yep.
To be confirmed, but if so, might as well.
Yeah.
And obviously they're not having the best time over there because I think with the whole Gago might leaving somewhere or stuff, so we might be at a good time that we could potentially have a good match, especially with the remaining of this week and next week, kind of, for our team to kind of train together more with the new additions.
We always play well at Chivas. It's not one of those places where we've like traditionally struggled to get results. They always get up for that match. Just this past season, for example, one of my favorite, possibly, no, not even possibly, absolutely my favorite match in the Baba era.
Let's see. Chat, if you're still there, anything different that you guys are thinking you don't agree with this?
Yeah, what else? What else is there to cover about this Leagues Cup? I think we covered everything, right?
I think we covered everything regarding Leon. Obviously, there was the round of 32 matches yesterday. That started yesterday and continuing on today. Pumas did win on the Liga MX side. Tigres and Pachuca are playing each other right now. They're still 0-0. San Jose and Necaxa. I mean, Necaxa went by, guys. Like, anyways, we're not.
So el golazo que metieron. Did you guys see it?
Which one?
Yeah, I
the
did.
counterattack. Oh, I was like, what?
No, I need to watch it.
But
yeah,
I mean, mad props to them for beating Seattle in Seattle. I'm a Necaxa lover for that.
Yeah, I was watching that
today.
Game.
Tomorrow, Santos plays against Cincinnati. Cruz Azul against Orlando City. Mazatlan versus DC United.
Mazatlan went through. Mazatlan went through. You're talking about Necaxa, Cuddy. Mazatlan went through. Juarez went through.
Juarez went through. Yeah.
So wait, so are we still convinced that Baba is going to stay as head coach all season?
Yes.
No. If he doesn't get a win in these next 4 matches, I think they will cut the cord.
So you're giving them half the season?
Yes.
Okay. I think he's staying. That's my prediction. He's staying regardless. Pase lo que pase, va a cumplir the end of the season. That's what I'm thinking.
Think so?
So you think so? If he has a bad start to the following season, he'll be let go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh. Wait, so he comes back next season?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, if they're not gonna fire him at the end of this season, there's no reason to fire him before.
No, but it's just like a Mickey's like style, It's like,
I don't know. I feel like a season and a half is the cutoff. They gave him 1 full season, and if he doesn't turn this around, I think there's a chance they do cut the cord.
Yeah.
I think I think it just goes back to kind of the roots of the club and what the club wants, right? And I think I'm going to sound a little bit Club de Cuervos, but obviously, the Club de Cuervos like, oh, like, un plan de X amount of time. It's like, at this point, we have a lot of new players. We have let go of the big heads. Like, it's like, okay, where do we want to head as a club, right? Where do we want to go? And how long is that going to take? Right.
Yep.
Because it's like, we've seen it. Like, we've seen the Guede with the Morelia at that time. Like, oh, fantastic season. Like, he had that one season, like, fantastic. La otra, nada. It's like, you don't know what kind of coach, the coaches that we're going to get, if they're going to have an immediate spark, if they're going to have, to wait a couple more. So it's like, I guess I'm just thinking, and obviously Liga MX is just short term with the seasons, but it's like we kind of sometimes think about it in the long term. If we had like a long regular season, right? Not just like cut into like long, like where would
Right.
we be at? You know what I mean? It's like if we had one good season, one bad season, ¿cómo calificamos? O sea, and you imagine like, okay, let me add it. Okay, this is how many points we ended up, and we ended up that bad. Would we still have the idea of like, vamos a correr el coach or not? But como we're judging just off of like short seasons, it's like it's kind of like why we're getting this like
So you want to
Liga
judge
MX
his
mentality.
overall record?
Well, I think I think it would be fair for
Yeah.
to start thinking that way. But I know it's not ideal because like como te dije, o sea, our seasons
I think
are
it's
short.
I think it's ideal because at the end of the day, you're going to judge a coach based on how many games he's won. You don't measure any. That's the metric, right? Anytime you look at a coach and you go, okay, is he a winner? But Baba, so far,
especially
he's a loser.
especially in Liga MX,
Yep.
like no matter what league you're in, it's a results-based business. But Liga MX is an exaggerated results-based business,
which
like,
cutthroat because the season is
Yeah.
cut. That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, por decir, let's say, okay, let's say we gave Baba 2 like full seasons, which 2 full Liga MX seasons, right? Which is 1 year season. And if we were to add up, would we still think, let's say overall on the table, let's say we landed like 7th, like at that point, would we say, let's keep him or let's fire him?
I mean,
7th is still good.
Well, it's good as long as you win the play-in game.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing, he's got to make Liguilla proper. He has to make an actual proper Liguilla this season. I mean, who in Liga MX gets 2 full seasons without making a proper Liguilla? Nobody. I mean, Larcamón made it only one. Had 2 full seasons. He made it only once. But I mean, the team was already qualified for the Club World Cup through his doing, so that was like extenuating circumstances. Baba hasn't done anything. Baba hasn't done anything to earn that kind of leeway.
Yeah. Just interesting, guys. I think just Liga MX, like we said, is so cutthroat. It's very short-term basis results. So it's like, how many actual coaches stay for a very long time? Obviously, Tuca stayed at Tigres for a very long time. But like other than that, like, I mean, Piojo, I think in America did stay. But it's like, what's the longest like a coach has stayed in the Liga MX team, and what's the shortest?
I mean, in
time?
this most recent era, there hasn't been who is even the longest tenured. Who's even the longest tenured coach in Liga MX right now? Could you even say? It might be. I mean, I don't. It might be Gurk in Querétaro, if we're being honest. Like he's been there for like 3 seasons.
It might
be. Which is like an eternity.
Yeah.
I think with them, it's like I'm not saying an excuse, but it's like maybe a special case just because of everything that has happened with them in the past couple, with the whole incident and kind of like they went into the, like, the dark side and no one really so they're kind of like, well, who's going to want to come and coach a Querétaro team? So it's like, they've just, I think, maintained him for us. And they will, maybe as long as they can.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's Almada. It might be Almada in Pachuca. He's been there for like 3 or 4 seasons too.
Yeah.
But those are the only 2. Everyone else has either this is their first season or last season was their first season.
It might be because I think he lasted quite a while at Santos, maybe now at Pachuca. And I think the short, I mean, I don't know if it might have been Caixinha with Santos. I think he only lasted like 6 games or something like that, or 4 games. I can't remember. 6 games, I think.
He's been, Almada's been there since 2022. He's been there 2 years.
No, yeah, so I'm saying Caixinha was probably like the least because he started with Santos, then it was Leagues Cup. He lost Leagues Cup, and then they fired him. Like that was it.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's just Liga MX mentality, and sometimes I'm like, maybe we should start thinking a bit different. But it's just, especially I think, the fans and how it can be very influential with some directivas that if they're feeling it from the fans, they'll do whatever to please the fans. But it's like, well, how long can you keep that up? You know what I mean? Because you're just spending money on new coaches every X amount of time, and the fan base is never going to be happy anyways. Like,
Well, that's the thing about our fan base. Like we're so accustomed to winning, to being in the top 5 spots for
mhm,
so long that like the rebuild people can't fathom a rebuild process. Like people don't they're not patient enough to
exactly,
sit through the rebuild process. And when it happens,
exactly.
like and the funny thing is like a lot of our fans are like, well, le están quitando el puesto a un joven, like all these old players. And then once they get rid of the old players and bring in new players, they can't be patient enough to go through that process. I think that's where we're at right now. That's the place that
Well,
we're stuck in.
also they give the young players a chance, and then, I mean, unsurprisingly, some of them don't do well because they're young players and they don't have any experience, and then they tear into them,
Yep.
uncontrollably, remorselessly. And like,
Yeah,
you cannot have it both ways. You want the young players to get an opportunity. Well, you have to give them an opportunity to fail, and
yeah.
that does not happen.
Yeah.
No, it's like with Cervantes, it's like people criticize him a lot and, "Oh, he did really bad." Yeah, la regó. And obviously, yes, no es un novato, pero la regó, pero se aprende, and you're not just gonna, like, not play him ever again because he did that one thing and that one mistake, because if it's like they do go a bit more hard on them. It's like, okay, what if it was an extranjero, like, and they messed up? What they maybe they messed up really badly, but because they have more quality than yesterday, they're gonna keep playing. So it's like, well, I can medir casi igual. I mean, these kids need an opportunity. La van a regar, but that's how they learn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, the
yeah.
thing
I mean,
about
it's yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
It's one thing if Poncho Blanco screws up. I mean, he's closer to 40 than he is to 20.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
37.
That's
Yeah,
that's different. That's
yeah,
different. I mean, he deserves all the criticism he's been getting. I mean,
yeah,
but a jovencito, like you're screaming for them to have an opportunity, and they get it and they screw up once and they're dead to you. Like, no, that you just
yeah,
cannot do it that way. That's another lazy way to fan.
yeah. We're gonna say Carlos.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, the thing about like extranjeros versus like homegrown players is that when you go out and buy on the market, that's an investment, right? You're spending
Mm,
2 million, 3 million maybe on a player who you expect to come in and have an impact immediately. Whereas with the homegrown player, someone who's coming out of the academy, you don't know. There's not really an investment there yet, so you still have a chance to kind of get them out of, send them back
mhm.
down to la sub-20, sub-23, and bring in an extranjero. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I heard
Absolutely.
Papa was talking about kind of like, with the rule and all that, and if, they decide to, like, maybe do menos extranjeros or all that, or with the rule change that's gonna happen, but basically saying that he's thinking that's at risk that the level of the MX will go down, um, with
El
the
espectáculo.
well, because isn't the rule changing with the extranjeros, and, like, how teams are they have to acquire, like, how they get the extranjeros, they have to, like, be like, have playing time with with their selección or something like that. I can't really pinpoint. I'll look it up and we'll have to
This is
talk
new
about
to
it,
me.
and yeah, I'll look it up, and I'll send you that video, Pava, and that way maybe we can talk about it in another pod, because I think it'll be an interesting thing to take in consideration for the next
Sounds
season.
good. Sounds good.
Well,
Um,
they brought back the rule about a certain number of minutes that the young players have to play. No.
yeah, pero it's something else that will be added, I think, next season. I have to look it up because Baba was talking about it, and I thought he made some good points. So maybe I need to look and see how the rule is, and that way I can let you guys know, and then send you the video, and then maybe we can talk about it, especially
Yeah, I'm curious
next
too because
season.
they had the young players minutes rule, and then they'd gotten rid of that for a while when they brought back the Liga de Expansión. But now I guess it's back. They just keep making more changes. It's impossible to keep it straight.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up, and I'll let you guys know. Um, Okay, guys. Anything else before we go? Obviously, we're waiting for confirmation of the official Leo versus Chivas game and what day is that. And then if it is next weekend, as you're saying, then we'll probably come back next week
Yeah,
to kind of do a preview.
I see a lot of people, just so there's anybody who's unclear about how they would do this if they move up the matches. There are in the calendar right now currently 3 doble jornadas scheduled for the end of the season. So the matches they would adelantar, move up, would be the matches out of those matchups in the doble jornadas. So people are like, well, what's the difference? If you play the matches now, there'll just be a hueco in the schedule later. No. This way you can normalize the schedule a little bit. You take away the doble jornadas and you just have one match a week. They're not going to change it in a way that there would be like 2 weeks off later in the season, which is why they're saying, because the Chivas match is scheduled currently right now as a Wednesday, a doble jornada. And if they move it up, then it wouldn't be that way. So chill out, people. I saw a lot of people, no, they're just stupid Liga MX, blah, 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 blah. No, it actually makes logical sense if you understand what they're doing. And personally, it would have been a lot harder for me to go to that Chivas match if it were on a Wednesday night than it will be if they play it on a weekend. So I hope they do end up doing that. I really do.
Hopefully so.
Yeah.
Comments. Sauce Boy says super late, but what's up, guys? Hello. Thank you for stopping by. Little recap. We kind of went over everything: Leagues Cup and the whole Baba situation, and the players, and kind of what we saw of them, and the whole goalie situation, and here and there stuff. Sauce Boy, if in case you missed it, you're more than welcome to listen back to this podcast.
Yeah. Also, one interesting thing that I heard during the press conference is that Paco Vela again. Damn, Paco Vela. We brought his name up so much. He should be a regular on this podcast. After the game against Colorado, he asked Baba whether he is renouncing, right? Or staying.
Resigning, yeah.
Resigning. Sorry, renunciar in Spanish.
Yeah.
And whether he was resigning or whether he was going to stay with the club, right? Because most coaches kind of, okay, maybe this isn't working out for me. I'm going to resign, get out of here. But he said, estoy firme. He's going to stay with the club. He has no plans of leaving the club. There hasn't been any talks with La Directiva, none of that. So he's staying.
Solid.
As far as we know, he's staying.
He's a very proud individual. I do gather that much from him. And he wants to finish what he starts. Unless told otherwise by somebody higher than him that his services are no longer required. So yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to step down of his own free will.
Yeah, I agree. Sauce Boy said, little recap where, Sauce Boy, we still have some positivity around here with the new incorporations, and kind of give them a couple more games to kind of mesh well together. So
there's still a lot of season to go.
Try to stay positive for us, please.
And this is a family-friendly podcast, please. Kari makes sure of that. Our moderator makes sure of that. So yeah.
Sorry.
So shame on you.
I don't allow foul language to be said, so that's why I didn't say the word. Not because of anything. Just we're a friendly, like Louis said, friendly family podcast. But stay with us. Okay, stay with us.
There's still a lot of there's still a lot of season left, and in this league, you only need to win 2 or 3 more games to actually make it into the play-in.
And have a good little momentum to
have a little momentum, and maybe you'll be the dark horse of the Liguilla.
Definitely. But anything else, guys? Did you guys meet up with Arturo still? Or I know
Arturo Ruiz hit me up and he was like, "No, my flight got canceled. I'm not going to be able to make it." And I was like, "No." I mean, it wasn't a week. It was during a week where the flights were getting canceled. Like crazy.
That sucks.
I did not meet up with Arturo, but another one of our listeners, whose name is escaping me right now, did stop me in the stadium in Colorado to say hello. He was the one who lives in St. Louis and was hoping that the matchups would work out so that we would play our first knockout game in
he was there?
In St. Louis. Yes, he was in Denver, and he recognized me.
He was on our last podcast.
He was on our last podcast, and I can't remember his name. His name is escaping me. I'm sorry. So if you listen back to this, please don't crucify me, because I asked him what his, because he told me what his handle was, and then I asked him, "No, what's your real name?" And he told me, now I can't remember. So So yeah, shame that we didn't get to St. Louis for the first knockout match, but yeah, but he did stop me briefly. We had a nice little 30-second chat.
Nice.
Awesome. And then I know Javi, who did not make the podcast today, he did a preview with Matt on the Colorado podcast, and you actually met up with Matt.
I met up with Matt. He messaged me on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it these days. He messaged me and asked me if we wanted to meet up in the concourse, and we did briefly. Very, very friendly individual. So shout out to Matt from the name of the
Holding
Colorado
the
podcast,
High Line.
Holding the High Line podcast. Thank you, Cardi, for sparing me the embarrassment of saying I didn't remember the name of it. Yes, very, very nice individual, and it's very. I'm always happy. I also appeared. I appeared to talk ostensibly about MLS, but I ended up talking way more about León and Liga MX on the Battered MLS Fans podcast with a few contributors from the MLS community. Just a few of our colleagues in the community, and what I love about this Leagues Cup is the opportunity to grow and expand our community of talking about this sort of thing in English, both with MLS and Liga MX contributors, so creators, I should say. So yeah. That was go check that out. The most recent episode of Battered MLS Fans. It's a relatively new podcast, but I made a special appearance on that, so you can go check that out.
Yeah, I was on the first episode, and Eddie from Rayados was on there too.
Yeah,
and Edgar was on there too. So I'm glad we all, are kind of connecting through Leagues Cup in that sense with the MLS side and their podcasts, and kind of vice versa. Because at the end of the day, like, as much as my separate feelings are for Leagues Cup, I think it's really cool to connect with other fan bases and kind of get their insights and perspectives, because obviously we have different perspectives, especially with teams that we root for, and different systems and all that. So it's really good to connect with people.
Right. No matter what you think about Leagues Cup, that is a unilateral positive, that opportunity to grow and expand the community. Because I mean, this is a passion project for the most of us. We're not making any money off of this, at least not yet. Maybe one day, but
maybe one day we'll capitalize.
We need to get more merch, Carlos.
Yeah. But not right now. That would be nice. Yeah.
Maybe we need to come up with another design for another T-shirt or something. Yeah. The thing is, I have to get it shipped to Dallas, because I don't think last time when you did it, I couldn't get one because I couldn't get it to ship to Mexico.
Oh, that's right. Huh.
Yeah. We'll have to figure something out, but
yeah, we'll figure something out.
Oh, Cowdy, it's not that far from Torreon. You can drive up and bring back a bunch of stuff.
No, that's a long drive.
Oh, it's only like 12 hours.
Only. I get car sick really easily. I'm like throwing up everywhere. Like, no, I can't do that. So that's why I'm praying for them. So are we. Just stay on the Lines and Pod ship for optimism.
Especially if that next match does end up being against Chivas. That, as you said in our chat pregame, in our pre-pod chat, Carlos, that would be an amazing opportunity to get our first win.
Yeah,
definitely. That'd be a good start. Okay, guys, I think that is it. We're gonna go ahead and let you guys go. If anybody wants to catch a Leagues Cup game, I'm not watching any more Leagues Cup games except for Santos because I have to. But other than that, I literally only watched the two Santos games or two León games, and I only watched the Galaxy and Chivas penalties. That's it. That's all I've watched so far.
Wow.
Those were amazing. I love that. That was my favorite game of the entire Leagues Cup, especially because Galaxy had absolutely nothing to play for. They had already won the group. The only thing in fact, what they accomplished was to allow their greatest rival to advance to the next round in San Jose Earthquakes. That was what they accomplished by beating Chivas. So it was just it was the level of pettiness there. As petty as I am about Chivas, that was amazing. I loved it. I loved every second of that.
Yeah. And the whole stadium was full of Chivas fans too. Literally the whole stadium.
That was a big game.
Remember how smelly that was.
I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I believe Chivas has a bigger fan base in Los Angeles than they do in Guadalajara.
Yeah, probably.
I think that's pretty accurate at today's age. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and go. So thank you everybody that joined us on this episode recapping Leagues Cup. Thank you, Edgar, for stopping by. Our usual people, Arturo Ruiz, Angel Delgado, and Sauce Boy, thank you so much for stopping by and joining in the chat. We're waiting for confirmation for our next game because I'm ready for Liga MX games to slowly start coming back. But once that happens, we will definitely do a pod previewing that game. So thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And we'll see you back next week on another episode of the Lines Up Podcast.